This video is sponsored by Boot.dev, but more on that later. Hello everyone, and welcome to my channel. My name is Brian, if you happen to be new around here, and with the release of Dawntrail comes the release of brand new jobs in Final Fantasy XIV. Now, I am really loving the Pictomancer, so I thought together I would put another controller guide out there in the wild for you. And as the previous controller guides went for Endwalker, you can see here under the user macros, I will have all of these in the pinned comment for you guys to copy and paste. Now, if you could do me a huge favor, some of the feedback I keep providing to Square Enix would be the ability for you guys just to search these up in game. My heart goes out to PlayStation and Xbox players, namely because you have to copy and paste. You have to have a mouse and keyboard to accomplish what we're going to show you here today. Otherwise, it does provide a little bit of difficulty in getting this all set up. But I'm going to walk you guys through all of my hotbars, talk to you about the job itself. We'll also jump into the PvP hotbars, and we'll even wrap up with my initial thoughts of the job in Dawntrail. If there's any changes or any updates that happen over the course of the next 2 years, all the way leading up to 8.0, I'll be sure to update these controller guides. This is my MMO channel, and I appreciate you guys being here. And if you feel like the video earns your subscription, be sure to hit that subscribe button. We have over 36% subscribers who watch these videos, so huge thank you to all of you guys who are returning, and a huge hello and welcome to the 63% of you guys who have yet to hit that subscribe button. Obviously, we're really rocking with the dudes, but I see the ladies out there with 1.8% here at the channel. Thank you guys and gals so much for being here. And if I earn your sub, sound off in the comments below so I can officially welcome you to the channel, just like Barb here did. That way I can thank you in the video as well as in the comments. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to cover some additional tips and tricks in this video for those of you who are new, whether you're on Xbox or PlayStation or PC, when playing with a controller. And I'll also be working on an advanced controller guide for those of you who really kind of want to get into the weeds. There's so much that you can do and customize in the world of Final Fantasy XIV with a controller. Just to kind of highlight what we'll talk about later, you can see here I'm holding down right or left trigger. That is setting up a specific hotbar. But if I tab with the bumpers, or if you're like me using an Elite Series 2, if you have a controller that has backwards little sticks here, you can do the same kind of thing. You can see that working. All right. So that gives you the ability to easily switch targets. And there's a lot of other things you can do to make targeting much, much easier in this game. And we'll go over some of that later in this video, or we'll also do that bigger deep dive here on the channel. But let's go ahead and walk through our layout. Now, I am on PC, so I do have keyboard and mouse access. No, I do not click on any of these things during combat. I usually just set some various different links to make it easier, like switching my class and so much more. And if you guys need tips or any additional help with that, just sound off in the comments or jump into the Discord, and I'm happy to help get you going. But the other thing you can do on a controller, if you ever need to go into virtual mouse mode, hold down the left bumper, press the R3 stick, and you now have your cursor acting as a kind of your standard mouse in this case. And to exit out of that, you can always hold down the left bumper and press the R3 to cancel that. That is just an extra tip for you guys. Hopefully that ends up helping. Now, we'll go over my HUD layout as a part of this section, but let's go ahead and start with the W cross hotbar. This is where you double tap the left trigger or double tap the right trigger. If you're having some hand dexterity issues, you can actually adjust the window in which this gets set. But you can see I've got that. I am also using the expanded, which there is just a minor amount of difference between those. So we'll go through all of those right now. All right, so now let's go ahead and focus in on the left-hand side. You'll notice that the left-hand side generally is my AoE rotation. So anytime I'm holding down the left trigger, I'm generally thinking I'm looking at AoEs. Now, the right trigger in this case is going to be for single target, so just kind of keep that in mind. But there are some easy exceptions. This isn't a hard to fast rule. This is just something how I like to kind of think about it. Starting at the top, we've got Rainbow Drip. This is actually learned at level 92, but even if you're playing Picto at level 80 or even in level synced content, this is a good thing just to have slotted over here. Same thing for Star Prism. This is the level 100 ability that you will unlock once you hit level 100. But I kind of keep these here, and I think that is going to be important for as you get into the level cap of the expansion. Now here I have Tempora Coat. This also will switch into Tempora Grasse upon use, and then it will start its official cooldown. And then over here on the ABXY, I have Fire 2 in red, Holy in white, Hammer Stamp, and Blizzard 2 in cyan. Now, as I said before, we're going to walk through kind of some basic rotations of the job here in just a little bit, but you can see here Subtractive Palette aligns with Blizzard 2 in cyan, and there is a very similar setup that you can see here on the right hand side. So if I just hold down the trigger, you can see here Fire in red lines up with Fire 2 in red, so single target. You see Blizzard in cyan, and again these spells swap out automatically with the combo spell that is following it up, which actually works out real well. But over here we got Mog of Ages. It's a duplicate over here, it just gives me access wherever I need to use it. Then you see here Scenic Muse, Steel Muse, and Living Muse, and we already covered Fire and Blizzard. You see Holy and White and Hammer Stamp. That ends up making up kind of these different rotations that I apply. And then if I double tap into the expanded, you see Smudge, Subtractive Palette, which lines up again with Blizzard and Cyan because you need this to fire off these spells. You see my Limit Break, Common in black again in a similar position, Swift Cast, and Addle, which is a cross roll ability. Now, you'll also see this floating hotbar. You see Starry Eye motif, you see Hammer motif, and Palm motif. That means my paintings are ready to rock and roll. How do I access them? You hold down the right trigger and press the left trigger, or you can do the left trigger and then the right trigger. If you're not in combat, these are instant cast ability spells, but if you are in combat, note that you will have that. What's really great about it is when used, now it activates some of these items on my main bar, and you can see here landscape motif, weapon motif, and creature motif are grayed out, which is just another level of communication that you can tell your brain that as you're learning the rotation, as you're learning the class, the job, you can do that from here. So you can see I've got those there. Now, all of these hotbars are actually set up in my character settings, but one of the cool features that they added to Dawntrail is you can now actively move your expanded cross hotbar skills around. Prior to this was just kind of a little secret window, and you'd have to go into Hotbar 3 to actually make that change. But that is something that is really nice to see that them add. Let's go into character configuration. This is going to be where a lot of your settings are applied. And again, if you want a in-depth look at all of these things, please stick around and check out other guides here on the channel. Now, I have display hotbar numbers turned off because I don't like these little floating numbers floating out there in the wilderness. And you can see here under sharing, I have only hotbar 7 and 8 for the cross hotbar, and then for the regular hotbar 6 through 10 are set up as sharing hotbars. Under cross, I have enabled a cross hotbar. I'm in hold mode. If you have hand dexterity issues, you have any trouble, jump into toggle or mix because toggle lets you set it, but you do lose some abilities with the expanded and the W cross hotbar. I also set it to always display the W cross hotbar, return to the normal cross hotbar after an input. So you can see here if I do like smudge, I'm right back here ready to go. I don't know why my Texas accent decided to kick up right there, but it did, so we're happy and healthy with that. And you can also reposition your W cross hotbar separately from your normal hotbar. And then in custom, this is where you set which ones are being pulled. So hotbar 2 left and right is being displayed with left trigger and right trigger, and then enable W cross hotbar with directional buttons that gives you the full 8. You can just shrink it down just to the 4 if needed. And then you can see here I've got set 2, 3 left and right. With customization, when my weapon is drawn, to never tab to another single hotbar, but if I am not in combat, I can press the right bumper or to be able to tab between what I have selected here, and you can see that was 1, 7. Now you can also enable PvP settings to function a little bit differently than normal, but I haven't found much use with this since they've overhauled the PvP system. And just as a reminder, we're going to go through the PvP controller guide in this video as well here in just a little bit. But that being said, let's actually kind of break down our rotations. I'm going to go ahead and start casting some spells. You can see here the spells start changing. So arrow in green is what comes up next. and then I cast it, and this says water in blue, and then I can cast that and it goes back to fire in red. Now, as that builds up, you see my palette here filling up with various different paints. Now, this is going to allow me to enter into this Subtractive palette in here a bit, but I do have one white paint, which will allow me to cast Holy in white. We'll get back to that. I kind of like to get those stacked up a little bit, but let's actually start playing around with some of our other things. So as a part of our muses and our, we see that they're active and ready to go. If I fire off the steel muse, now I can use my hammer. I can fire off the creature muse to call that down, and I can fire off my starry sky. And now I can kind of go into my big hammer rotation, which is both comical and wonderful at the same time. This also gives me the ability to fire myself into Subtractive palette. So I'm going to go fire this off. And the Subtractive palette, as you see here as I'm casting it, and switching to Subtractive palette, it also turns one of my white magic paints into black magic, which will allow me to do Comet in black. But let's go ahead and get that cast rotation going just a little bit more, and let's get back into the Subtractive palette so we can show off the different skills. All right, Subtractive palette's ready to go. Let me fire it off. Now you see here Blizzard in cyan is available, potency much higher. It's got a heavy hitting single target. Stone in yellow, same concept, and then Thunder in magenta, finishing off that cycle. Now going back to it, you can see I've got 3 whites and I've got 1 black magic. I'm going to go and fire off my Comet in black, which will return me back to the white magic AoE holies, which are instant casts, by the way. That's one of the things that makes them really useful when you need to be on the move. There is not a cast time for Holy or for Comet, and you can see the potency on Comet is rather substantial, and so this is going to be one of your bigger hitting spells as just a part of your general rotation. But you only get that black magic when you get that Subtractive palette. Okay, so that's single target. You got to get an idea over here. Let's go ahead and switch into AoEs. Same concept, fire, water, you know, arrow, water, and it just kind of goes around and around, filling up until you get enough to do Subtractive palette. Or you can always remember to fire off your motifs to get access to all of that. You can see here, I'm still on with the water. There we go. Blizzard 2 in cyan. And Comet bringing it down for some big damage. I'm going to go ahead and bring that back one more time. And there we go. Let's do it. All right, now with our hotbars set up so you guys can see the different skills as they swap in. So Stone 2 in yellow as an AoE, and then Thunder 2 in magenta, firing off that Comet in black. And since Holy is also in AoE, it works incredibly well all together. Now, I do have the other skill here, Rainbow Drip. Now, if you get Rainbow Bright active, which is a part of expending most of your different stacks, this will actually become an insta-cast, but you can still cast it without the necessary need to do that and wait so long. And it is a nice little AoE ability. So just kind of keep in mind, you'll see this proc with some form and occasion. And with the fact that I'm in combat, if I want to bring up my various different paints, again, you're going to see it's got this little bit of a cast time working for it. But when I'm sitting down playing, this ends up being a lot of fun. And now I have the ability to proc Mog of Ages, bring in my hammer, switch to my palette here, fire these off at will, and I feel this just ends up being so much fun. Finishing it off with some Comet and a little bit of Holy to kind of round it all together. Guys, if you have any questions or you need any help regarding PvE or these layouts, please let me know. And you can see here, by doing so, I have also procced this ability for the Insta-Cast. Yay for Rainbow Bright, which makes me as an 80s kid very happy, and I really appreciate that. Let's jump into the PvP section of this video. You can see here when you go out to the Wolf Den here, this is where you can see and play around with your different setup. Layout is pretty simple: Fire in red, Holy in white, Smudge, Palm motif, Mog of the Ages, Subtractive palette, Tempera coat, Living Muse, Advent of Chocobization, Purify, Reciprocate, elixir, guard, and sprint. Now, I have my sprint, as my voice decides to crack, set up as a actually user macro, and this will also be included, and we'll go over it. This is where I can do my normal sprint. This is where I can do my mount roulette, and it just works. Like, this is just something where, and I've got it actually bound to my R3 click button. So you can see here I have sprint, and it says mount is unavailable at this location. But breaking down the way that this plays in PvP is that you have insta-cast spells. You can see this, you know, I can be moving around and casting, and it does really nice. In fact, if we pull up our little tooltips, you can see here how these things change and the potencies of which that they apply, which ends up being rather quite nice. So if you're on the move, you need to go, there you go. But if you want to do a little bit more damage, you do Submit some Palette, and you go now, you have Blizzard and Cyan. You can see the potencies on these spells are much larger, but it does have that cast time. But you do get Comet, which is an insta-cast and does quite a bit of damage. And if you, again, you turn that off, which can go right back into insta, it will turn what Comet is to Holy. So those two easily swap itself out. Then Smudge obviously is the ability to dash forward, and is very enjoyable in this case. Now, if I go with Palm and Creature Motif, now I have these skills and I can fire them off. Use my wing and use that ability to bring up the Mog of Ages and be able to do that. So for now, I'm going to keep attacking this target just for a little bit, and we'll highlight what the limit break does for Pictomancer. All right, now with that, we have gotten our limit break ready to rock and roll. I'm going to go ahead and press it. It's going to apply this beautiful circle that will heal me and heal anybody who's standing in it, and then you can fire it off again to call down a lot of damage, a fat chocobo, if you will, worth the damage on your opponents. So hopefully this has been help. I honestly think the job plays incredibly well in PvP, and if you're just generally curious, this is a really great way to also level up. If you take a part in your daily frontline roulette, it's fast, it's fun, and honestly, it's a great way of feeding yourself with plenty of experience. So now let's spend a little time in our HUD layout. Now, my setup is a little bit weird, as I do not use the mini map in Final Fantasy XIV as just a level of immersion that I particularly enjoy. You can always turn it on and off if you want to be weird like me, but it is what it is. It's just something I picked up from a handful of other games, and I've applied it here in this game. Overall, your actions and where you set things really isn't going to be very pertinent to how you play, with a few exceptions. You see here that I've got Hotbar 4. That's where those skills are acting to highlight that. I've got my palette gauge right over here, my progress bar for casting, and my canvases. Now, my palette gauge I keep in normal mode, and for my canvases, I actually put into a simple mode. Otherwise, you can actually make it more detailed. Takes up a little bit more space, but I went ahead and kept that in its simple mode to make it the work for me in the best possible way. Over here on the left, I've got the enemy list that you can see here as that generates, Alliance 1 and 2 on the far left, and various different hotbars kind of pushed away to try and give myself the most clean and unintrusive UI at all possible. All right, so I said let's get into some additional tips in this video, and that's what I want to do now. Character configuration, under control settings, and under target and under filters. You can enable full auto target and auto target according to priority. What this means is that if you have a skill that requires a target to fire off and you don't have a target, this is going to pick the closest one or the closest in your line of sight. I highly recommend doing this, because that nothing is more annoying than when your target dies and you haven't switched to a new target and you're still trying to cast that ability. But that is going to be something up to you. Now, under filters, while my weapon is sheathed, this is going to be custom non-party PCs. I turn off party members. I keep alliance members. I have enemies and any NPCs that I need to talk to. When my weapon is drawn, I'm only focusing in on enemies, things that I need to hit. So pets, party members are a no. And if you still wanted to target party members, the good news is this is where we can bring up the controller. Up and down on the D-pad will cycle your different party members, and thus you can keep left and right focusing in on various targets. So you can see here it's targeting a lot of stuff over there in the distance, but I got these two striking dummies. If I press the L3 button, all of a sudden now it is only going to target the things that I can hit and fight. So just keep that in mind. You can see here I can also do a lock on target by having something targeted and then pressing that L3 button as well, which will give you the ability to kind of move around, and it's going to adjust the camera and so much more to your liking. So what are my overall thoughts with this job? And it's simple. I think this is a better Black Mage than Black Mage. It's got all the elements, which really makes me happy as a old school Final Fantasy XI player. I like that aspect to my mages, which are very elemental based. Obviously, it's got the paint theme going on with it, and perhaps it's my nostalgia tripping because obviously Final Fantasy VI is my favorite non-Final Fantasy Tactics Final Fantasy. And that being said, Realm was such a fun character, and it's great to see the Pictomancer come back in another form in this game. And it plays incredibly well with the controller, as you've already seen here in this guide. That means that when you are doing your rotations, having those skills swap out feels incredibly valuable. Now, that's not to say that it is a perfect iteration. When it's all said and done, when you do your various different motifs, and then you have the various different muses which fire them off, it just seems like there could have been a little bit more skill consolidation, where we do have things like Tempura, which switches to Grace as well. So that is something where a skill becomes another skill when used, and allows you to fire that off and use that as well. And honestly, I would love to have seen that with some of these skills. I know there was definitely concern out there among any hardcore community about a one button press to win, and I don't think it's about that. I think it's about how naturally like these move into various different rotations and open it up to where you are kind of deciding which path you need to go based off of the situation. That's at least my hope for how this plays in the raids. Now, if anything changes about the job, like I said at the beginning of the video, note that we'll be doing updated guides. I am not at the moment committing to doing every controller guide for Dawntrail. It ends up being a lot of work, and I think that's one of the big reasons why I got burned out, along other issues with Endwalker. And I'm really excited to see Dawntrail, and hopefully a lot of people are out there enjoying it. Pictomancer, I think, is an incredible addition, and if you like casters of any type, honestly, I would try to encourage you as much as possible to check out this game. Now, guys, everybody here knows that I'm a dev, and I'm so happy that I've been able to partner with today's video sponsor, Boot.dev. Guys, if you're not aware, I'm a software developer, and one of the key components to being a software engineer is education, education, education. You're always going to need to be learning in this career field. And that's why with Boot.dev, you're going to learn back-end web development. This is in both the Python and the Go programming languages. Now, the folks at Boot.dev believe that the smartest way to learn to code is by making sure that you are never bored. Boot.dev is online and it is self-paced, and it also feels like a captivating RPG game. The platform is designed to get you writing a ton of code, because getting your hands on the keyboard and shipping projects is really the only way to learn. Now, the folks at Boot.dev know that not everybody can afford a membership, so they made all the information free for everybody in guest mode. A paid membership is only going to unlock the interactivity and the game that goes along with it, and that's a pretty good deal. But if you want an even better deal, check the link in the description. Use my code GingerPrime to save 25% off your order. That's 25% off your first month or your first year, depending on the subscription that you choose. And thanks again to Boot.dev for sponsoring this video, but let's jump back into it. All right, guys, thank you so much for hanging out with me on this video. I hope that you got something good out of it, and I hope that you come and check out other videos here in the future. This is my MMORPG channel. My name is Brian, aka Ginger Prime. Thank you, a special thank you to all the members. Thank you to all those of you who've hit that like button, and thank you to everybody here who's hit that subscribe button and takes a chance on my content. We got lots to do. This is a year of MMOs, so much to do, play, see, and discuss. So hopefully I'll see you guys in future videos. But until then, guys, take care.